What are the real business opportunities? Like, what are the ways to look forward?
So I think so far we've been in the realm where it's, you can do like an incredible copywriting business, or you can do like a sort of like education service or whatever. But I don't think we've yet seen the kind of like people go after the like, $1 trillion like take on Google's. And I think that's about to happen. Like maybe it'll be successful, maybe Google will do it themselves, but like I would guess that with the quality of language models we'll see in the coming years, there will be like a serious challenge to Google for the first time for a search product. And I think people are really starting to think about like, how do the fundamental things change? And that's going to be really powerful. I think that like a human level chat bot interface that actually works this time around, like I think like many of these trends that like we all made fun of were just too early. Like the chatbot thing was good, it was just too early. Now it can work, and I think having like new medical services that are done through that, where you get great advice, or new education services like this, these are going to be very large companies. I think we'll get multimodal models in not that much longer, and that'll open up new things. I think people are doing amazing work with sort of agents that can use computers to do things for you, use programs, and this idea of like a language interface, where you say in natural language what you want in this kind of like dialogue back and forth. You can iterate and refine it, and the computer just does it for you. You see some of this with like DALL-E and Copilot in very early ways, but I think this is going to be a massive trend, and very large businesses will get built with this as the interface, and more generally that like these very powerful models will be one of the genuine new technological platforms, which we haven't really had since mobile. And there's always like an explosion of new companies right after. So that'll be cool. I think there will be a small handful of like fundamental large models out there that other people build on. But right now what happens is, company makes large language model, API, other people build on top of it. And I think there will be a middle layer that becomes really important, where I'm like skeptical of all of the startups that are trying to sort of train their own models. I don't think that's going to keep going. But what I think will happen is there will be a whole new set of startups that take an existing very large model of the future and tune it, which is not just fine tuning, like all of the things you can do. I think there will be a lot of access provided to create the model for medicine, or using a computer, or like the kind of like friend, or whatever. And then those companies will create a lot of enduring value, because they will have like a special version of, they won't have to have created the base model, but they will have created something they can use just for themselves or share with others that has this unique data flywheel going that sort of improves over time and all of that. So I think there will be a lot of value created in that middle layer. I think the biggest like systemic mistake in thinking people are making right now is they're like, all right, maybe I was skeptical, but this language model thing is really going to work, and sure, like images, video too, but it's not going to be generating net new knowledge for humanity. It's just going to like do what other people have done, and that's still great. That's still like brings the marginal cost of intelligence very low, but it's not going to go like create fundamentally new, it's not going to go cure cancer. It's not going to add to the sum total of human scientific knowledge. And that is what I think will turn out to be wrong, that most surprises the current experts in the field. So I think there's two things happening now, and then a bigger third one later. One is there are these science dedicated products, whatever, like AlphaFold, and those are adding huge amounts of value, and you're going to see in this like way more and way more. I think if I were like, had time to do something else, I would be so excited to like go after a bio company right now. Like I think you can just do amazing things there. Anyway, but there's like another thing that's happening, which is like tools that just make us all much more productive, that help us think of new research directions, that sort of write a bunch of our code so we can be twice as productive. And that impact on like the net output of one engineer or scientist, I think will be the surprising way that AI contributes to science that is like outside of the obvious models. But even just seeing now like what I think these tools are capable of doing, Copilot is an example, be much cooler stuff than that. That will be a significant like change to the way that technological development, scientific development happens. But then, so those are the two that I think are like huge now and lead to like just an acceleration of progress. But then the big thing that I think people are starting to explore is, I hesitate to use this word because I think there's one way it's used which is fine and one that is more scary, but like AI that can start to be like an AI scientist and self-improve. And so can we automate our own jobs as AI developers the very first thing we do? Can that help us like solve the really hard alignment problems that we don't know how to solve? Like that, honestly, I think is how it's going to happen. The scary version of self-improvement, like the one from the science fiction books, is like, editing your own code and changing your optimization algorithm and whatever else. But there's a less scary version of self-improvement, which is like kind of what humans do, which is if we try to go off and like discover new science, that's like we come up with explanations, we test them, we think, like whatever process we do that is like special to humans. Teaching AI to do that, I'm very excited to see what that does for the total. Like, I'm a big believer that the only real driver of human progress and economic growth over the long term is the structure, the societal structure that enables scientific progress, and then scientific progress itself. And I think we're gonna make a lot more of that. The alignment problem is like, we're gonna make this incredibly powerful system and like be really bad if it doesn't do what we want, or if it sort of has, goals that are either in conflict with ours, many sci-fi movies about what happens there, or goals where it just like doesn't care about us that much. And so the alignment problem is, how do we build AGI that does what is in the best interest of humanity? How do we make sure that humanity gets to determine the future of humanity? And how do we avoid both like accidental misuse, like where something goes wrong that we didn't intend, intentional misuse where like a bad person is like using an AGI for great harm, even if that's what that person wants, and then the kind of like, inner alignment problems where like, what if this thing just becomes a creature that views us as a threat? The way that I think the self-improving systems help us is not necessarily by the nature of self-improving, but like we have some ideas about how to solve the alignment problem at small scale. And we've been able to align OpenAI's biggest models better than we thought we would at this point, so that's good. We have some ideas about what to do next, but we cannot honestly like look anyone in the eye and say, we see out 100 years how we're going to solve this problem. But once the AI is good enough that we can ask it to like, hey, can you help us do alignment research? I think that's going to be a new tool in the toolbox.
Yeah, like for example, one of the conversations you and I had is, could we tell the agent, don't be racist, right? And as opposed to trying to figure out all the different things where the weird correlative data that exists on all of the training set and everything else may lead to racist outcomes, it could actually, in fact, do a self-cleansing.
Totally. Once the model gets smart enough that it really understands what racism looks like and how complex that is, you can say, don't be racist. I think language models are going to go just much, much further than people think. And we're like very excited to see what happens there. I think it's like what a lot of people say about running out of compute, running out of data. Like that's all true, but I think there's so much algorithmic progress to come that we're going to have like a very exciting time. Another thing is I think we will get true multimodal models working. And so, not just text and images, but every modality you'd like in one model, able to easily like, fluidly move between things. I think we will have models that continuously learn. So like right now, if you use GPT, whatever, it's sort of like stuck in time that it was trained, and the more you use it, it doesn't get any better, and all of that. I think we'll get that changed. So very excited about all of that. And if you just think about like what that alone is going to unlock, and the sort of applications people will be able to build with that, that would be like a huge victory for all of us, and just like a massive step forward, and a genuine technological revolution if that were all that happened. But I think we're likely to keep making research progress into new paradigms as well. We've been like pleasantly surprised on the upside about what seems to be happening, and I think all these questions about like new knowledge generation, how do we really advance humanity? I think there will be systems that can help us with that. Oh yeah, so one of the unfortunate things that's happened is, AI has become like the mega buzzword, which is usually a really bad sign. I hope it doesn't mean like the field is about to fall apart. But historically, that's like a very bad sign for new startup creation or whatever. If everybody is like, I'm this with AI, and that's definitely happening now. So like a lot of the we were talking about like there are all these people saying like I'm doing like these RL models for Fusion or whatever, and as far as we can tell, they're all like much worse than what like smart physicists have figured out. I think it is just an area where people are going to say everything is now this plus AI. Many things will be true. I do think this will be like the biggest technological platform of the generation. But I think it's like we like to make predictions where we can be on the frontier, understand predictably what the scaling laws look like, or already have done the research where we can say, all right, this new thing is going to work, and make predictions out from that way. And that's sort of like how we try to run OpenAI, which is do the next thing in front of us when we have high confidence, and take 10% of the company to just totally go off and explore, which has led to huge wins. And there will be I feel bad to say this, like I doubt we'll still be using the transformers in 5 years. I hope we're not. I hope we find something way better. But the transform has obviously been remarkable. So I think it's important to always look for like, where am I going to find the next totally new paradigm? But I think like that's the way to make predictions. Don't pay attention to the like AI for everything. Like, can I see something working and can I see how it predictably gets better? And then of course leave room open for like you can't plan the greatness, but sometimes the research breakthrough happens.